Well, an opportunity to further explore this relationship between craft, traditional practices and contemporary work. That's why it's interesting for me. I've been in Hong Kong for 6.5 years, and coming from a background as a maker, but with a lot of knowledge and experience in textiles. It's been a great opportunity to try and learn more about Asian crafts and techniques. What's of interest to me when I look across all of the crafts generally is that possibility of making mistakes, of failure, and of that reciprocity between a person's hands working. Even this they call it being in flow. I'm interested in what's going on between the body and the practice, and actually a lot of my research is about human-computer interaction. So that's what looking at crafts is doing for me. It's informing me how I would design digital technology, digital tooling, digital craftsmanship. So I'm often mashing those things together. They're all inspired by this history of singing crickets and keeping of crickets, and to some extent fighting crickets. Generally they were also kept in connection with keeping birds, so you buy the crickets to feed the birds, or you take your birds out walking and this pastime, and there's beautiful poetry, carving, there's a whole wealth of arts and culture that surround this activity, so that's the beginning of all of the pieces. Being a weaver myself, fabric weaving and spinning and weaving, that means that I could have a language in common with basket weaving. So even if myself and the seafood did not have a common spoken language, we would at least hopefully be able to have a discussion through forms and shapes and techniques. I really want to collaborate with the craftsperson. I want to learn from the craftsperson. I spent a full day going over into mainland China to explore where the baskets were being made and to meet the seafood with Mr. Chan. And first he took me to his factory where they're actually still using the basketry techniques, but they're making out of plastic and welded steel frames, so they're making outdoor furniture. And then we went to this whole village which was all rattan, amazing. It was hard to find someone to work with because people aren't really working by hand anymore.
我哋咧就係7幾年開始喺嗰度騰嘅，咁咧都係做啲藤編嘅。咁但係到咗後期8幾年咧，因為大陸開放咧，咁我哋就將間廠搬咗翻上嚟大陸㗎啦。咁啊，因為香港就一揾唔到工人啦，二地方唔夠大，三人工唔夠平，所以咧我哋係直接將嗰個生產線咧移翻嚟國內，就嚟咗南海呢個地方，因為南海呢個地方咧就係
全部都織藤
編織品比較聞名嘅。香港嘅藤廠咧，以前就聚集喺上水金田村啦、粉嶺安樂村啦，同埋八鄉嘅錦上路啦。藤家絲講緊係可能係7尺闊，咁你香港一般家庭擠唔到嘅。以前啲屋大啲就擠到，依家擠唔到啦。所以由於嗰個地理環境咧，香港藤家絲喺香港咧基本上係冇乜銷路㗎啦，已經係啦。咁因為國內仍然呢啲單好大，佢哋可以賣藤梳化、木梳化，佢哋可以有選擇，但係香港就冇選擇嘅。做藤呢個係產值比較低啊。咁依家喺呢個都市化嘅情況之下咧，呢啲工業、呢啲手工業咧已經唔再適合喺呢啲地方唔再適合呢啲地方生存啦，就可以升嚟啦。你首先要去咗皮啦，就要再用機器將佢切割成所有直徑相同嘅藤骨啦，我哋叫藤骨啦，然後再打散佢就變咗咁樣樣啦。由一條圓藤去到呢條藤骨咧，咁基本上都要經過6、7個工序㗎啦。你要翻嚟洗啦、揀啦、開皮啦、再開骨啦，再留翻啲心啦。師傅係做一個最後工序，將啲藤嚟積埋一齊。但係佢之前咧已經經過10幾個工序試，然之後先得到呢條材料。譬如一條老身啲嘅，你會硬啲，就難織啲；一條嫩身啲嘅會軟啲、易織啲。咁你就要師傅憑自己經驗去揀啦。你就算織得好靚，喺客人心目中咧，佢都價值唔會太高啊。所以變咗你嗰個經濟效益低咧，咁你其實更加難吸引嗰啲年青人入行去做啦。你可以睇下師傅隻手㗎啦，其實你織得越多嘅人咧就起晒爪，啲手會掘晒。咁一般年青人咧都唔願意去入呢行，因為太粗勞啦。你又要搬藤上，又要搬藤上去車間，又要去織，隻手又損，冬天又會磨損。咁你基本係啦，因為天冷係最難㗎啦，你要手會爆晒㗎嘛。以前我同師傅呢啲冇得選擇啊嘛，即係你學上就落嚟啊嘛，我哋可以做啊嘛，但係依家有得選擇嘅時候就冇啦，係啦。咁所以依家你見到師傅織呢啲攬咧，基本上再維持多10年8載咧，可能呢度都冇人再織到㗎啦。
一入去嗰陣時咧，我就係去嗰啲技術班嘅，挑選緊去一個班咧，就叫做紡板。紡完板就到起板，起板咧就即係每一季交易會咧，就要我哋出去即係外國啊，一係又即係旅遊一次咧，就周圍去即係整嗰個思維好啲，就出去睇嗰啲新環境啊、新事物，咁啊接觸個人就好啲。咁啊去完咧就即係有啲咩啦，我哋起碼就係叫做我哋就考到咧有一個工藝員，考到一個工藝員。我哋稱咧就本稱咧就工藝師嘅。你話織隻火雞，你呢度唔見有火雞㗎？咁你去第樹睇到，去嗰啲其他度睇到咧，咁就翻嚟就即係用個腦，
記住個形狀係點啊？
同你個心思嚟諗出嚟做。佢冇一幅畫俾你睇㗎，就係靠你出去即係話考察啊其他地方。一般織普通嘅嘢呢啲仲有。即係但係起樣板真係可以差唔多，到我哋呢脱60幾歲呢啲人，
之後都冇人可以。
啲仲有冇幾多個？
啲後生又唔想
啲後生唔係話得罪佢冇咁技術織得到出嚟，佢未曾得見過。即係我哋起碼就周圍中歐美國周圍去睇過晒啊嘛，睇過晒又仲加上我哋有實踐啊嘛。咁你冇實踐係邊識嘅後來？一定有實踐過織出嚟，咁係得嘅。
It's really the view of a Westerner coming in and you see things with different sorts of eyes when everything is fresh. Basically, I've referred to typical Chinese landscape paintings. What I've done is manipulated the images and run them through with the laser cutter, so they're actually just burnt, which I quite like that it's fairly environmentally friendly. This is 100% wool, a double weave, so it means structurally there's 2 layers. So even if I burn right through the top layer, which I haven't done that much, but it's still quite firm. And so I've just laser cut this as a digital image. My plan is this is all going to be embroidered, and it is directly referencing those imperial robes, but of course, as you see, it's not on yellow, and blue and indigo is very much more working class, and basically all these ladies are carrying big baskets, so it's almost peasant culture, but mashing that up with this kind of very honoured textiles. So in that way, that's a labour of love of putting that energy into something, but really. Well, this costume's carrying birds, so it's a little bit more noble.
This embroidery is each row is taking about an hour and a half at least for one stripe. I mean, you can see the amount of stitching in there from the inside. I feel like photographing the inside is almost just as interesting.
In all of these works, I'm looking at the history, the Chinese history of crickets, and in this particular work, I'm interested in playing around with images of the crickets and anatomical drawings. So I'm using a technique called shibori, and if you can imagine looking from one side, on this side of the pleat is one image, and when you come from this direction you'll see the other image. What I've done is bound buttonholes here and threaded, so soaked the bamboo in water and threaded this, and then I'll be constructing a bustle, so just like a big bottom shape with these forms. The idea is that each of these, or scattered throughout them, will be some speakers and some technology, and the technology's also got a vibrator in there, so I'm hoping you'll get some kind of natural noise from the bamboo just rustling around a little bit, but also the insect noise. I'm collecting the sounds of the crickets and of the birds because I'm going to put audio into the sculptures.
So the starting point for all this was a book that I found that was actually there's an American collection of cricket keeping paraphernalia. So these sorts of things are all cages to store them, and then they would use ceramic ones in the winter. And I'm looking at putting tech into all of these vessels so that when the audience walks past, you can actually hear the cricket noises that will emanate. The idea is to make something that's a bit bug-like looking. These are the balls that you'd buy crickets at the market. They're quite cheap. So when I have a whole bundle of those, and each of them's got a sensor in them, but when they have the vibrator as well, they may make a bit of noise. So you can imagine the noise that comes when you've got a contained sound being amplified inside a ceramic vessel.
I think there's little opportunity in a very, where everything's very mass produced, to identify quality, and I think there's a lack of, my students have a lack of exposure to looking at something that's handmade or something that's made with a sense of quality. I hope it starts some kind of discussion with the audience to think about how we could perhaps work differently in Hong Kong with the crafts practitioners. And I have some students who
discover something, they discover a passion for a material, and they want to understand it, they want to get closer to it, and they got in that flow moment. And there you see it moving forward, but it's not to make old stuff, it's to make new stuff. It's to make new stuff that has intrinsic, value, social objects almost. I can't imagine, the students seem to be a bit frightened of investing time into doing things, but all of the different, I'm trying whatever medium suits my purpose. So rather than thinking I'm a ceramic artist or a weaver or whichever particular niche, I think it's interesting just to have a concept and then bring together whatever suits that concept and then try the different media. But things take time to develop and you need to acquire skills. So I'm doing blacksmithing and welding, which it's not beautiful, nor is my ceramic work beautiful. I can make exactly what I want, and I'm not going down to Shamshapo and trying to find the component, trying to find the vessel that looks like could hold it or whatever. So I think there's something to be said about mastering those techniques in terms of having then the ability to make your own choices and really design from the ground up, not being reliant on what the market provides you with and the limited availability of things, and also being responsible for what the product looks like. But on the other hand, the tourists that come to Hong Kong, and they're quite aware that the tourist coming into town is looking for something that looks like it's local, something that looks like it's really part of the Hong Kong culture, and so those images become very kind of stereotypical Hong Kongese. So there's and why not support the local crafts through tourism as well, by rather than saying these things are out of date and we can mass produce it or we don't need to make it, why not rather embrace them and say this is how we have some sense of identity, and so it becomes a cultural practice